Is there racism in Japan? Short answer, yes. Long answer, hell yes.
Tell me like a Hellcat.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Tommy's World. You already know it's your girl Tommy, and I am back with another video. In today's video, we are going to be exploring the topic of racism in Japan. So before we even get into today's video, I just wanted to define the term racism for anyone who might not know what it is. So racism can be defined as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. Now, I decided to do this video because I have been asked by a lot of other black people who are intent on moving to Japan about the racism climate in Japan. And to be honest, it's just so sad that that is one of the first questions that people ask once they come across my channel and realize that I live in Japan. But it's such a realistic question because whenever I'm about to travel to any country at all, it's one of the first things I research, the climate of racism in that country and how I will deal with it. The next reason I decided to do this video is because the climate of the world right now has started a conversation that we have been needing to have for quite some time. With all the police brutality that we see happening in America, with African American people being killed at the hands of those who were put in place to serve and protect. Guys, the conversation has been started, and since I have a platform such as this one, I feel it is my duty to continue it. My first ever experience with racism happened in 2016, which was my first time ever leaving Jamaica. In 2016, I decided to go to America on the work and travel program because if you are a student in Jamaica or if you're a student any at all, you know that it is imperative that you work and earn some money so that you can take care of yourself during the school year because it's really difficult. College is expensive. I was doing the job of a housekeeper at that time in America in a small hotel in Vermont. And I remember going into the room to clean the hotel room, and the guy who was a Caucasian stopped me. He was like, "Don't go any further." I was standing right there. He took up the phone, called my boss, and he was like, "Why did you send this monkey to clean my room?" At the time, I was so taken aback. I didn't even know how to handle it. I don't even want to delve into it more because this is definitely not what you came for in this video. But to be honest, racism in Japan and racism in America is very different. In America, I feel like it's more hostile based on what I experienced there. And in Japan, it's more underhanded, and if you don't know what you are looking for, you probably won't realize that people are most definitely being racist. So racism in Japan. The first thing that you might experience here in Japan when it comes down to racism is staring. Staring can happen in the supermarket. It can happen when people are just driving their cars. They're literally driving their cars, and no matter how fast the car is going and how far along they have passed you, they will still just be staring at you. Other than in the supermarket and when they're driving, they'll just be staring at you while you are walking on the street. So both of you are walking on the street, and here is this person just staring at you. Staring sometimes can show that, oh, I've never seen something like this before, or this person is gorgeous. But it gets even more awful when they are staring at you and you are like, oh, ohayou gozaimasu, konnichiwa, and they just act like you didn't say anything and they just keep on walking and staring at you, which is just so rude and dehumanizing. It's like, seriously? If you are going to stare, the least you can do is respond to me being polite. If I'm staring at someone and I realize that they looked at me, I'm definitely going to smile or say hello just to not be awkward, but that's not a thing here. It's like me, hello, them. The second thing that you might experience when it comes on to racism in Japan is just people grabbing their dogs or their kids when they see you walking by on the street. First and foremost, I can barely take care of myself. I will not steal your kid, because how am I gonna take care of someone else when I can barely take care of myself? Also, I'm literally one of the only black people, well, not me personally. I live in an area where there are quite a few black people because there's a base near where I live. I feel like I say that in all my videos, but there are people who I know of who live in very small towns, and they're the only black person in that town. Why would they incriminate themselves when anyone could say, oh, it's the black girl who took my baby? Seriously? And I'm not gonna steal your dog. The third thing ties back to point number one, the point that I was making, that people will literally just not acknowledge your presence. I remember this one time I was walking back from the supermarket and a couple of my neighbors were standing outside. Before I passed with my groceries, there was a Japanese guy on a bicycle. He rode by and he said konnichiwa, and there was a chorus, konnichiwa. Everybody responded to him. Then I was walking by with my groceries and I didn't want to be disrespectful, so I said konnichiwa, and no one out of the 4 women who were standing there answered me. So at first I was like, well, probably they didn't hear, so I spoke louder. And I'm not a quiet person. I don't have a small voice, I have a big voice. So I said konnichiwa, and it was crickets. No one answered me. It was at that point that I realized that they weren't answering, not because they didn't hear me, but because they didn't want to. What can be so difficult in just saying hello? Oh, I'm so scared of the black girl, I don't want to say hello to her. The fourth point is going to be people not wanting to sit by you on the train. And I know that that's something that literally everyone here goes through, every gaijin. I'm not even gonna lie, when it comes on to racism in Japan, it's not just limited to the black race, even though we get it a lot more than our Caucasian friends or other Asian friends. But once you're a gaijin or foreigner, people will just refuse to sit by you on the train. The trains have like a 4-way seat, so 2 people on this side, 2 people on this side, and once I go and sit there, no one will be sitting beside me. Be it my students, because I take the train with my students in the morning, or be it other adults, no one is going to sit beside me. And the fact that adults don't sit beside me is the one that bothered me a lot in the beginning, because I get that my students might not want to sit with their teacher, but seriously, they prefer to stand and bundle in the train rather than sit by you. I'm talking about the adults, guys, not my kids. And if they are sitting there and I go and sit down, then they start to draw over to the window like I'm going to do something to them. Or sometimes, and this has happened to me at least once or twice, people will just get up out of the seat and let you sit there. No, I think I've become desensitized to this issue. I like it when no one sits beside me because there's so much more space, and I have really long legs and the seats are kind of small, so I don't have a problem with it anymore. But initially when I just came to Japan, it was such a horrible situation to go through, not even gonna lie, guys. The fifth thing is going to be the questions that they ask. And I made a video about this before, crazy questions that I'm asked here in Japan. So you guys already know the type of questions that I get here. And some people believe that, oh, they just ask you because of ignorance, or they're just curious. But seriously, no matter what, I don't think there is a time when I would walk up to people and ask some of those questions that they have asked me. And if these questions were just being asked by children, that I could definitely understand, because kids are curious. They say the darnest things, they ask the darnest questions, no problem. But these are adults, people who are many times older than I am. Like, seriously, get a grip. Number 6, I'm just going to say that they treat you kind of like a pet, with how they want to touch your hair or pat you or speak to you in like this demeaning way. Yeah. And the thing about the hair touching, they want to touch your hair, but if you try to touch their hair, it's gonna be like, oh no, what are you doing? Why are you going to do it to me if I can't do it to you? that definitely means that you realize that there is something wrong with what you are doing, but you think it's okay for you to do it to me. But why? And I've never seen this done to any of my Caucasian friends. It's just... Number 7 is specific to Caribbean ALTs, and that is that people will question your English skills. I have had instances where teachers have asked me a question and I answered the best I knew how, because I'm not just an ALT who had a bachelor's in anything. I was trained to be an English teacher and I know what I'm talking about. And there have been several times when they would ask me a question, I would answer, and then they would say something like, but is that how they would say it in America? I'm not an American ALT. I did not grow up in America. I'm telling you what I know to be a fact. And I just feel like that is one of the most underhanded, most disrespectful things ever. Like, seriously? The final thing that I will mention is name calling, which is something that I don't think has ever happened to me. But the thing is, I have very poor Japanese, which in this case it's probably a good thing. So when they speak, I can't understand what they say 99.9% of the time. But I have heard of experiences from other expats in Japan where they have said that people have called them names like monkey, gorilla, and stuff like that. And guys, I'm telling you, this is 2020. This should not be happening. These have been my experiences with racism in Japan, but I just wanted to go ahead and open up the conversation so other expats who live here in Japan can also share experiences with you guys, so you can know that this is not just stories that I am fabricating. But seriously guys, you can't make this shit up. So now I will go ahead and insert some of the stories that I have heard from other expats who I asked to tell their own stories. For this first example, this lady and her husband were disrespected on the train simply because they were foreigners, one black and one white, while a Japanese guy shouted "Japanese only, train for Japanese," and shoving her husband outside of the train. Like, seriously? This next experience touches on something that I didn't even mention in this video, which is the fact that Japanese guys often see black women as a fetish, and racism can come from other foreigners living within Japan. And here goes the name calling that I mentioned before, guys. In 2020, seriously? Being called a nigger, being spat at, being chased while being told to get out of the country and speak Japanese because you're a foreigner, you can't get an apartment. Being denied the opportunity to dine in restaurants. This right here is just racial profiling. Simple as that. Valerie, who is of Haitian and Japanese descent, shared her experience when she was growing out her hair from straight to curly. On the train, a girl across from her didn't think she spoke Japanese and said, "Oh my god, look at the gaijin's hair, it looks like pubic hair." Athena's experience of a child in a supermarket shouting, "Look, look, it's a black person, it's not possible, it's a black person," shows the level of ignorance here. And it's not about the child, but about the household. Here is an experience of unprofessionalism and just the whole petting situation that I mentioned before. Please stop touching our hair. This last experience is just absolutely ludicrous. Why would you feel the need to grope someone in public? This is what I'm telling you guys about people treating us like pets here. Like, seriously? As per usual, thank you guys so much for watching my video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you like what you see here, join the family. I will see you guys in my next upload. Bye!